Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are the Jocks of All Trades podcast. I am Brad, joined by Kyle, and we are back for another edition of Jock Talk. You already know what it is. I'm not even going to sit here and explain. I'm just going to tell you we're starting with the buzz. Kyle, do you want to preface this? I feel like when this dropped, I didn't even get to talk to you, but I feel like you were way more excited about this than I was.
Yeah, no more Pro Bowl. That's pretty big news out of the last week. I think everybody agrees that the Pro Bowl is pretty much garbage at this point. If anybody watched it last year, I mean, I watched clips of it, and I'm like, wow, no one's playing defense. No one, like, it's boring. And their new plan, I don't think is very good either. It's like, games and I mean, some of them are fun, no doubt. Like the quarterback games of the early 2000s where quarterbacks competed against each other and all these kind of drills. Those are pretty fun, actually. So if they could do more things like that, but with like each position group, that'd be really fun. Just to showcase these guys like physical talents. But like, I don't think they're gonna do that. They're probably gonna do more of like dodgeball type stuff, which is stupid. Like it's fun for them, I get it, but like for us, it's
meh.
stupid. Like I don't need to see Saquon Barkley throw a ball at Tom Brady's head. Like why?
I wish they would do more of like what the NBA All-Star does. Why not have two team captains, draft teams, and play that way? That would be more interesting to me than AFC versus NFC. Like, who cares?
Yeah, if they do flag football, I mean, that could be fun, I think. Yeah. You know, because like you kind of expect it to not be like anywhere serious at all. So you can kind of go into it knowing what you're going to get rather than going into a football game. Everybody's padded up and it's virtually flag football. Like, you know, like you can experience people's personalities better, I think, in flag football rather than like, you know, 80 yards back from the game action, watching them try to play tackle football. Yeah. That's just pretty pathetic at that point. So potentially it could be really fun to watch, but like you better hope they come up with some good games and drills for all of these guys. Otherwise, it's going to be a snooze fest again.
I hope so. We'll see. This is always my gripe, so I guess I'll take this one. Look, no one is elite. Bama, Georgia, Michigan, Clemson all had scares. There's no elite team. There's no big dog this year that is just going to dominate everybody. That is not the case. I don't know if we're starting to see what Saban has been asking for the past couple of years, which is more parity in college football, where not every team sucks besides like the Power Five. I mean, for goodness sake, like, okay, Kent State went up with Georgia. That was unexpected. Who was it that Clemson needed overtime to beat? Wake Forest. Wake Forest. What? Like, that was insane. Michigan had a hard time with Maryland. And we had a hard time with Texas. Like, it's kind of nice to see real games. It's not blowout, 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 blowout. There's real games. I can't complain. I can complain because of how some of the like big wigs are talking about people like, oh, if you struggled, then you're the worst team that's ever come out. And then we should just crown Coastal Carolina as the next national. Like, whoa, like they're going way too far. I'll talk about that later, but I'm with you. There's no big dog this year. Everybody is on like an even playing field.
Yeah, and you kind of have to look at it like, you know, it could be the NFL in a way where like it's a week-to-week league. Because if you're honest with yourself, the NFL is a week-to-week league. Like you can have the Colts look like absolute dog crap, and then they beat the Chiefs last week. And then they go out and lose the Titans, and the Chiefs look amazing against the Buccaneers. Like, that's just how – it's weird, but, like, it happens. In college, the disparity is obviously it's much bigger. We know that. But we've seen, like, teams struggle with lesser teams a few weeks in a row now. I mean, like you said, Georgia with Kent State, Georgia with Missouri now. Michigan didn't look that great against Iowa, and Iowa
sucks.
Yeah, in the first couple of games. Like it happens, and I think what you have to realize is that like if you can just get a win sometimes, and maybe it's not pretty. Like I understand, like Penn State only beat Northwestern 17-7, but also it was like in a monsoon. Like it's just an ugly game. So like if you can get a win, I mean, you might sit there as a fan or a coach and be like, we can do better, we can do better. Yes, but
So what do you subscribe to? Do you subscribe to, well, this was just a tough game for them, or a win is a win? Like what philosophy are you leaning towards?
I mean, kind of both. I mean, I think you're right. There's no big dog right now, but I still think teams are finding themselves a little bit, and I think when you go on the road sometimes back-to-back weeks, or you come off like a massive victory, like an emotional victory, like college football, a lot of times is just purely emotion based. I mean, you don't get the atmosphere in the NFL sometimes that you do with college football. Like there's a lot of emotion that goes into it. Like these are kids still. Like emotion's a very big part of all their lives. So like it's not just a job. Like it's their life. Um,
Yeah.
and like they have so much other stuff going on. So when you take that emotion stuff into it, and you come off a big win or a big loss, like that can carry into the next week, into the next week. So
Yeah.
if you can find just solid performances, around your team, and you can come away with a victory, but like even Arkansas, like Arkansas is not a terrible team. Like they ended up beating them by 23, and they're not as good as everybody thought they were.
No, well, I think it was that, and I think emotions is exactly what you said. When Bryce went out, I thought the game was over. I thought we were toast. But like you said, emotions run hot, and Alabama said we don't want to lose. And Milroe looked good.
Yep.
So and Gibbs, obviously Gibbs was the reason we won. But I don't know. You're right. Emotions. It was, and if you watch the whole game, it was a swing of emotions because suddenly it was all Arkansas, and then one swing of, okay, let's make a play. Gibbs takes 72 yards, and you just feel that whole shift. I don't feel that in the NFL. I don't feel that whole huge shift back and forth between powers. It feels like a bunch of crybabies that get paid millions of dollars to just say, we can lose this week. Who cares? Like, I kind of feel that way. Unless, and this is a good transitionary piece, unless you're the Eagles. I'm sorry, Kyle, you're going to hate me for saying this because it's going to be like full of voodoo and bad vibes. But I believe in a Super Bowl where the Eagles and Bills coexist.
Yeah, I mean both of them look really good. I mean the Bills shouldn't have lost against Miami. We'll talk about that.
No.
Here. But they did. But anyway, they definitely both of them look like the best teams there. Now you could say, well, the Eagles haven't played anybody, but like I said, they went to the Vikings week, and everyone's like, oh, the Vikings are really good. They smacked the Vikings. Oh no, the Vikings aren't very good. And
the Vikings only scored 7 points.
Yeah. And they go and play the Jaguars before that game. They're like, well, Jaguars are really sneaky. They've been playing really, really well. And they beat Jaguars. Oh, it's just the Jaguars. Like, again, just beat
I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that. A win is a win is a win is a win.
Just beat who's in front of you. Like, every player in the NFL is there for a reason. Like, they're just extremely talented, athletic, for the most part, hardworking professional people. Like, they're going to give their best each and every week. So, a win is a win in this league, and the Eagles have been winning pretty impressively so far. And beyond that, I mean, the NFC East, Saquon Barkley, number one rusher in the NFL right now, pretty impressive. He's looking back to normal form. Cowboys, even with Cooper Rush, are 3-1. I mean, the NFC East has the best record in the NFL. So it used to be the NFC least. But what do you think? Do you think they can sustain this, or do you think this is just like a hot stretch for them right now?
I think two teams will sustain it. I think Philly is real. Finally, we figured out a run game for Philadelphia. Finally, what took you guys so long? Secondly, the emergence of Jalen Hurts. Holy cow. He has finally settled in and learned, okay, this is how you play big boy ball. And I always loved him for that at Alabama. Sad that he left to go to Oklahoma, but what choice did he have? Understandable. But still, he had that dog mentality of, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to be the best. Remember the SEC championship game against Georgia? When called upon, he came up, he stepped in, he did his job. I think Eagles are real. There's one. Two, I think the Cowboys could do it. If you're winning with Cooper Rush, that means your team is pretty good. Like I don't like the Cowboys, but I'll get on the Cowboys train because that defense is Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, fantastic duo. I think you throw one more guy in there, and then you've got a lockdown defense. Those two. Here's where I stop. I love Saquon. I think Saquon's great. I think Saquon's the only good part of the Giants.
Yeah.
Like, eventually they're going to hit somebody, and it's going to start going because it's the Giants. It's what they do.
Their defense is pretty, like, it's good. But, like, their receivers, boy, like, they have drafted so many, signed so many, and none of them are that good. They've put so much. I mean, the Eagles did the same thing for a while, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor, and they sucked. But the Giants as well, like, they haven't found a really good receiver. And also Daniel Jones stinks. Offensive line still pretty bad. So, yeah, you can't rely solely on Saquon because if you do, you shut him down and the offense is shut down. So
on the opposite side, I think the Commanders are better than people give them credit for. Because you said it last week. I saw it in action this week. Did they lose? Yes. But I still don't think Wentz is the problem. Wentz has real receivers in Washington. And look at the few games. They're still struggling with chemistry, I think. But when the chemistry has been on, it's been Curtis Samuel. It's been Jahan Dotson. It's been Terry McLaurin. It's been Antonio Gibson. It's been Carson Wentz. Like, that whole offense is really good. Now, if they could get their defense up to par, I would say you have three teams that are possibly really good. But I'll stick to the two and say Eagles and Cowboys for now. And I think whoever wins that division is tough. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think too with the Commanders, I mean, when they played the Eagles, they played the Cowboys. Like, if you have a decent to above average pass rush, I mean, Wentz likes to look downfield. Like, he likes to make big plays. But to do that, you have to be able to stand in the pocket longer than a second or two.
He doesn't have a backup plan. That's his problem. Like, he doesn't go through his reads. He likes looking downfield, and that's why he struggles.
Yeah. So if they can get more of those opportunities for him, I think it'll pay off, for the Commanders. But you can't just remake or pull out of thin air an offensive line. That's just not possible. And you can't fix stupid mistakes in a season. Like, Carson Wentz's struggles, it's been like this for the last 3 years. Like, again, I'm not saying he's the worst quarterback ever. He's not. But the mistakes that he's made, he really hasn't fixed, which is crazy because, like, a lot of quarterbacks, the good ones, they fix those. They find a way to fix their mental mistakes, their inconsistencies, and get that figured out because, like, arm strength isn't the problem. Size isn't the problem. Intelligence isn't the problem. It's just, like, holding on to the ball, decision making, getting the ball out quick. Like, I think those are fixable things, but he just hasn't fixed it. So
I think had they not selected Jahan Dotson and had they gone with Trevor Penning like we had mocked them to multiple times, maybe this would be different. Not saying one guy is going to make a huge difference, but it's a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolphins. I wanted to talk about this because it's a very important conversation in the NFL. It's one of the biggest things that has happened to the NFL in a while, sans Deshaun Watson. I mean, if we look at that game on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, you can't sit here and tell me that he didn't have a concussion. He got hit, head smacked the ground. He got up, he stumbled, fell down again, came up, went into the tent, looked at the concussion. They said, nope, it's just his back, and he went out there. First of all, that's bullcrap. And then Thursday night, he gets hit basically the same way, and his fingers crumble, and you see all that because Amazon showed that 1,500 times. So, and once I saw it, I'm like, holy, like, it's about to go down if they investigate the Dolphins. Because, like, concussions they're one of the biggest things in the NFL, especially after that whole study and the whole movie. Like, it's a massive thing that a lot of people take seriously. And it's a very, very damaging thing for players, after football. And when you get a concussion on a Sunday and get another one 3 days later, that can literally cut to his life short by like 20 years. Again, his life. That's sorry. Did I say his career? I don't know. His life by 20 years. Like, it's just a very serious thing, and that is not protecting your player. So we know the Dolphins. They had not a Dolphin-like neurologist, an independent kind of person to do that, and the NFL fired him. But listen, I'm not the biggest into conspiracies, but when you have so much stacked up against you in terms of that independent neurologist was like, basically saying it's a lie, I didn't do this, like yelling. Apparently it was a very, very heated argument when he got fired. Plus the Brian Flores, when he got fired, he talked all that crap about the Dolphins, how they made him lie, how they're a shady organization. And on top of that, how they got fined an arm and a leg for messing with Tom Brady during a period where you weren't allowed to talk to him, and they got fined, out the butt. All those things stacking up against you, you can't tell me that that organization is a little bit shady with these things. Like, they care about winning more than they care about doing what they're supposed to do. So, like, I don't know what your opinions are. You can give your whole spiel, but just right now, like, I think it's all these things stacked up against you in the last year and a half. Like, fool me once, okay, but fool me 2 times, fool me 3 times. Like, I can't just get behind that this was an accident.
I agree with you. There are two things that particularly frustrates me about this. I don't know if you originally saw what the Dolphins said, that Tua might be listed out if he's ready to go. I was like, you're really gonna play him a third week in a row? And then they backtracked and they said, well, he's ruled out. He's ruled out. He's ruled out. I'm like, yeah, because you realize everyone now suddenly has their eyes on you. Suddenly you can't get away with, oh, well, we weren't sure it was a concussion. Everybody and their brother knows it was a concussion. When you're seizing on the ground, that's not, oh, he got hit really hard and he's just, like, you see them do that. You'll see them like, or take their helmet off. He was seizing. That is a concussion-based response to an injury. Concussion. Sorry. I'm with you. That makes me mad that they're still mishandling it and saying, well, he could play. He could play. No, he's going to sit out. If you're anyone with a brain and have a heart other than money, then he needs to sit out. Secondly, this is the fan base that's blasted Tua since day one. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. That kid is tough. The fact that he went to the hospital in Cincy and then was seen on the sideline in the locker room with a cone on, still sitting there clapping, cheering everybody on. He is tough. Everybody called him glass forever. He is not glass. He was mismanaged in his health. Had you sat him out after the Bills game where he took that bad hit and he was having a hard time getting back to the huddle, guarantee you he'd be healthy 2-3 weeks. Much healthier. You would have never put him in a position for another concussion after clearing him. So, no, I don't like the Dolphins. I know we have some Dolphins fans that watch our podcast. It's not you. Your organization just sucks. Like, where's the responsibility? Where's the adulthood here of just realizing this is a kid? He is still a kid. He is our age. He is a kid. And you're mismanaging a kid's life when you put him in medical danger like that. Yeah. So I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm quite done with that whole franchise saying, well, we didn't know. Well, it was just this guy's fault. Well, no. You and I both know the NFL is a money league. Follow the money. Sniff it out with the Dolphins. Then you find out who made those calls that said, leave him in. He'll be fine. We got to win this. We got to win this game.
Yeah, I think too. It's like a, if Mike McDaniel, and I don't know if he was involved in this. I hope not for his career, but he might have been. if it was an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady type of quarterback, Justin Herbert, the big guns, Patrick Mahomes, uh, I think he wouldn't have came back in the game. I do. I don't think they would have come back in the game. But since it was Tua, since it was, he's been injured a lot anyway, put him back in. I honestly think that's what it was. Like they didn't give a crap about his health or his life, and that's horrible. Like it's downright disgusting. And also after his concussion in the Thursday night game against the Bengals, he flew home with the team, and Mike McDaniel said, "Yeah, we watched McGruber together on the plane." And he laughed. You're not supposed to watch screens after you get a concussion. Like it keeps getting worse and worse. Like it's so dumb to even say that. To do they've mismanaged the hell out of it. And it's really bad. So
yes, it is. What's on our hit list besides the Dolphins for this week? I wrote 2 and you have 2, so I'm gonna let you start out with yours.
Yeah, I'll do my 2 here. The Colts yet again. Sorry, Colts fans. I just I can't get behind you right now. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is clearly your entire offense. And again, much like the Saquon Barkley conversation we just had, if you stop him, your team is shut down. Matt Ryan put up some gaudy numbers in the second half, but you still lost. And it's funny. I think I saved a quote on my phone from Nyheim Hines when he was talking about the Colts. Let me see if I can find it. All right, here it is. He said, "Not an excuse." This is Nyheim Hines, the Colts running back. "But every year we have a new quarterback. So each year we have growing pains while we sit here and watch Tennessee, which has had Tannehill, my whole career? And each year we're restarting and we have to turn the page. So it sucks a little bit too that most teams we play have an established guy."
He has a point.
It's a legitimate point. You can't keep Colts. At some point, when you have
draft the young
running
buck.
back, when you have this great of a running back, when you have a pretty good offensive line, listen, I think the head coach is all right, Frank Reich. The defense has some players on it, but they can't really stay healthy. You have some pieces, no doubt, but you can't win in this league without a good quarterback, and you can't win in this league when you have a different quarterback every other year. You have to draft one and develop one. It's not working with these rentals. It's not, especially when you have Carson Wentz as a rental. Get rid of him. The 38-year-old Matt Ryan, he stinks. Philip Rivers, he was at the end of his career. End of career guys, it's not smart. You have no chemistry. You have no rapport. It's every year you're hyping up an old dude or a has-been this is the missing piece. It's going to take us to the Super Bowl. No, it's not. You're going to have to reassess your all the assets you have, and this year, I mean, I think you're going to stink. I'm not saying tank. It's kind of a crappy thing to do, but I think you're probably going to be pretty bad. So what you might have to do, because this is a really deep quarterback class, I would say you would agree it's pretty darn deep compared to last year, especially.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a decent pick this year. You better do your homework every stinking day on these quarterbacks. Give up most of your picks to move up where you need to move up to get your quarterback of the future, because it's very, very easy. Not easy, but it's easier to build a contending team when you have a quarterback and a rookie contract and you have to pay everyone else. Because you're going to have to pay, Nelson, you're going to have to pay
Jonathan Taylor,
a lot of good players on defense. Even Michael Pittman probably in a couple of years. I don't think he's great, but he's good. You'll probably have to pay him. You're going to have to pay these guys. So you don't have any room to pay 25, 30 million for these has-beens. That's horrible asset management to do, especially when the rest of your team isn't that great. The Broncos are doing it right now, and they just lost to the Raiders. So just because you did it with Tom Brady, again, harkening back to last week's conversation, just because you did it with Tom Brady doesn't mean you're going to do it with Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson. Yeah. They're three very different players. So Colts, get it together because you're failing pretty hard. The next one is
I'm really happy that I wrote this before you finished. Did you see what I wrote?
No.
Oh, it's on the screen. It says avoid old moldy QBs, Kyle. I was like, I'm gonna write it before he says it. Then you went through and you said old. You said these trash old guys. I'm like,
Yeah,
I could have told you what he was gonna say. Anyways,
they are.
your
And now
second one.
Yeah, I've got mine really quick. It's the Saints draft decisions. Listen, Chris Olave, I think we all knew he was going to be a very good player. I'm glad I drafted him in my fantasy league, and he's good. But giving up a first-round pick for this year, for last year's draft with Trevor Penning, again, while you had no future quarterback, the Eagles are 4-0 right now, but they have the Saints first rounder for this year, and the Saints are 1-3. So if things keep going how they're going, that's pretty good for the Eagles and really bad for the Saints. So I would just recommend.
Did they really think they were going to be that competitive? Like, look at their roster.
I mean, their defense is good, no doubt. They have a lot of studs in their defense, but Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton with Michael Thomas, who can never step on the field.
Latavius Murray, Mark Ingram.
It's an old roster.
Yeah.
Skill position wise, broken down roster. Offensive line's pretty good, but they've had their injuries. I think Penning's out for a while, maybe the whole year. So
I thought he was out for the year.
Yeah, he might be. That's not good. Just again, terrible asset management. Chris Olave was a good pickup. Like I like him, but I mean, trading an extra first for Olave / Penning, like there could have been a better way to go up and get Olave, not get Trevor Penning, and been okay. And would have had probably a top 5 pick this year to get a quarterback.
Yeah. Now they're going to be drafting Van Dyke or something out of Miami.
Or Will Levis. I don't think that's going to work out. So,
yikes.
Yeah. All right. Your turn, but my boy.
I got you. Clemson, first of all, it's every year. Your conference is hot garbage. Look, and because your conference is hot garbage, I expect you to blow out your conference when you play conference games. I'm sorry, that Wake Forest game was atrocious. And still only beating NC State by 10. Are you really impressing me enough that when we get to the end of the season and they start calling out the first 2 out and the top 4, do I really think you belong in there at all? No. I would take a 1-loss Michigan or Ohio State over an undefeated Clemson. So what? You're undefeated. We need to start talking about that. Yes, you may be defeated, but strength of schedule is everything. Ohio State is a great example of that right now. Have not played anybody. So, yeah, that should factor into if you're undefeated. Congratulations, you played Michigan and who? Well, Penn State, but still, you know what I mean. So, Clemson, get it together, impress me. Ukulele still doesn't impress me.
He's getting better, though. I'll give him that.
He's getting better. I'll give him that, too. But he's still not, elite. I'm not going to walk into a draft day 1, and say we should pick him at 3. No,
he's not Bryce Young / CJ Stroud. If Ohio State, Alabama are in that Final 4, I'd much rather take those guys over DJ Ukulele for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. My second one is I wrote this last week, but it's still relevant. Oh my gosh, Mitch Trubisky is awful. Even with them putting in Kenny Pickett, 3 picks against the Jets. Shocker. I said he wasn't the most NFL-ready quarterback. Look at that, Steelers fans. He wasn't ready. And you threw him against the Jets. You would think if he was ready, out of all the teams you could beat, it would be the New York Jets. And he couldn't even beat the Jets. Think about that for a minute, Pittsburgh. You were just in a bad situation because you have not managed your O-line for years. You let all the good guys walk that were there for a long time during Ben's career and didn't replace any of them. And now Najee can't go off. Now, whoever you put at quarterback is not going to go off. Your receivers are suffering. You're going to get a high draft pick. Just pick a new quarterback. Get rid of Kenny Pickett. It's a Jordan Love thing. Yeah, you could play Jordan Love, but you have Aaron Rodgers. You don't have an Aaron Rodgers to play. You have Jordan Love, and Jordan Love's stepbrother from Fresno City Community College. You know what I mean? It's bad. It's so bad. It's not even funny. Also, the really enjoyable thing about watching a Steelers game is watching Matt Canada call plays, because I love watching paint dry, Kyle. It is one of my favorite things to do. And he just reminds me of that. It's so flat, boring, nothing exciting, nothing new. It's like he thinks Big Ben is still back there because, to his credit, Big Ben was intelligent. He was about as mobile as a tree trunk, but he was intelligent. He knew how to make plays work. Canada has none of that. I'd rather have Greg Roman, who mismanages the Ravens every week on offense, than Matt Canada, who can't even call a decent play call. Like, I'm not a Steelers fan, but I feel bad for Steelers fans because it's just, I'd be done. I'd stop watching the rest of the season. You're probably going to go like 2-47 or whatever the number is now. Like, it's just, it's bad. Anyways, speaking of bad, let's talk NFL highlights from this week. I'll go ahead and drop the scores. I'll be honest, Kyle, I had a very busy weekend. I caught bits and pieces of games. I didn't get to watch everything. One of the games that I did catch bits and pieces of was Raiders-Broncos. If you're going to pay millions of dollars on a quarterback, make sure that the rest of your roster is ready for said quarterback. I hate the teams that say, we're one quarterback away from being there. No, you're not. You're usually the ones that are the last people that are one quarterback away. You're not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're not, God forbid, something happened to Patty Mahomes and they just plugged another quarterback in. You'd probably be okay. Like, yes, Mahomes makes ridiculous plays. I'm not saying Mahomes is an average quarterback. I'm just saying his offense is very well tailored to a quarterback to be able to step in and succeed. That's why anything is possible whenever he plays. But you know what I mean? Like, the Colts are not, we're a quarterback away. Right?
It's Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes. Like,
yes,
Andy Reid, one of the greatest play designers / coaches of the 21st century.
Thank you.
Like, Nathaniel Hackett is not Andy Reid.
No, it's bad. Like, if you're going to pay all that money, make sure you've got everything you need. And they don't. They're receivers that were touted to say, this is their year. They finally got a good quarterback. Where are they? The running backs. Javonte Williams got hurt. Melvin Gordon's a piece of crap. Your O-line looks like Jerry Jeudy gets hurt from sneezing too hard. Like, what? Sorry. It's true. I can make fun of my own players. But it's bad. You were not one quarterback away, and I said it. You saw it. I go back. If you follow us on Facebook, I have said it. I was very critical of the Russ Wilson signing because I said, I think you're paying him too much money. I don't think it was bad that he went to Denver. I think you paid him too much money.
And he gave up way too much for him.
Yes. I think the Seahawks are surviving with Geno Smith. Who of you remembers Geno Smith besides the two weirdos here that know like every quarterback that's ever come through college? Like, no one knows who that is. He was like the third string on the Jets when we were in high school. Like, this guy's been around for eons. He'll probably live past me and my children. Like, Geno Smith will be like some crotchety old man. Like, this is how bad the Broncos trade was because the Seahawks are making it with Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Those are their quarterbacks. So was Russ the problem in Seattle? No, he was not. Seattle was the problem with Seattle. Like, I'm so sick of we're a quarterback away, and the Broncos are a clear example of this. They were when they got Peyton Manning. If you think that's the same team, you're high because it's not. You don't have Demaryius Thomas. You don't have Ball and who was that other running back that they had? They had Monty Ball and they had someone else.
But they don't have Von Miller, that's for sure.
No, well, yeah. Anyways, that's my soapbox. I'm done. I'm tired of hearing it.
Yeah, I'll just go with the Cardinals and Panthers quick. Matt Rule needs to go back to college.
Yeah.
They are winless when the opposing team scores more than 17 points.
Ooh.
Winless in his tenure there. So he needs to go. He's not doing anything. Baker Mayfield looks like hot garbage. And listen, I have stuck up for Baker Mayfield quite a bit on this podcast.
Me too.
I do think he's gotten a bad rap with the Browns. However, I'm starting to think that Kevin Stefanski is a god because he made Baker Mayfield look like a decent quarterback.
To be fair, I don't think any quarterback would look good with the Panthers right now.
Also, that's also very true. I don't know why they got rid of Joe Brady so quickly. Like Joe Brady had one. Remember what Joe Brady with LSU, up and coming coordinator,
clever guy.
Yeah, and the Panthers got him in 1 year. He didn't do that well, and they canned him. But like anybody would suck in that position if you had no quarterback. McCaffrey, who always got hurt, offensive line that was like they had nothing on offense. How are you supposed to have an accurate evaluation of your offensive coordinator if you don't have anything?
We had DJ Moore.
Yeah, like DJ, he's pretty average. Like, and they're paying Robbie Anderson like $20 million. They're paying Shaq Thompson like $20 million. They're paying Taylor Moton. Do you know who Taylor Moton is, Brad? Because I barely know who he is. They're paying him $20 million. Like it's again terrible asset management. And they've paid what like a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth for Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Matt Corral, and all of them suck badly. So they basically traded away an entire draft.
An entire draft class on 3 quarterbacks.
So, yeah.
You know what their problem is, Kyle? They keep getting white quarterbacks. That's their problem.
Yeah,
no white quarterbacks.
Yeah, Cam Newton worked out pretty well for him. So maybe if Anthony Richardson comes out this year, they can grab him and get some of those similar vibes. But Cam Newton is a free agent, so they could sign him back and see what they do. But
you mean like they did last year?
Yeah, it's a mess down there. So
yeah, agreed. Let's slide on over to Spicy Meatball. I don't feel like this is going to be much of a shocker to anybody, but I'm going to preface it just because I'm tired of hearing it. I don't know if it's because I'm an SEC guy. Don't know why, but I'm so tired of all you bigwigs saying, it's Georgia this year and everyone else. I'm Lee Corso. Like, stop. No, it is not. First of all, Georgia struggled twice now against Kent State and Missouri. Like, I want to make sure everybody hears that. Like, those are 2 atrocious football teams. Kent State, I don't know the last time they had a winning season. And Missouri, when was the last time you were a threat in the SEC? Like, wow. Like, you had a cakewalk schedule here, and you're messing up. Granted, you're not the only team that's doing that, but I just want to circle back to what we talked about where everybody has had a scare. Right, which also means we're all on the same playing field. And before we get the whole Ohio State should be above everybody then. They haven't struggled with anybody. Okay, well, you played Notre Dame, then you played Toledo, then you played Rutgers, then you played Little Sisters of the Poor, then you played St. Mary's Catholic's children's preschool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you're not playing anybody. You're not impressing me. Now, the second half of your schedule, you dominate and you put those guys away, I'll shut up. But when the first half of your schedule is that, why should I be impressed with you? And why should you think you have a say to be number 1? Sorry. Anyways, yeah, that's just my whole thing. Not really spicy, just kind of meh. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing it. I'm sure you've heard a lot of it.
Yeah, I think they got to pick it up a little bit. Kent State, Missouri, not good outings for them. They won, sure. And I think it's very emotion based, like we said. I think when they play a real team here soon, I think they're going to be up for it. Now we'll see what they really look like against that real team.
Because they look good against Oregon.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Did you hear this? Georgia fans were clamoring to take out the mailman himself and put in their backups. Like, oh, what happened? I thought he was such an elite quarterback, Stetson Bennett. I hate it when people say that. He's not elite. If he was elite, we'd be talking about him as a first-round pick. He's not.
He's good. He's good. But yeah.
He's a game manager.
Yeah. Next, let's take out the trash
of the SEC.
Yeah, very good. Let's take out the trash here. Pittsburgh.
I gotta do ads.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go.
Sorry. Let me pull up ads real quick. Ads are real quick. Fresh Cuts is our first and biggest sponsor. Caleb Kemper runs Fresh Cuts. It is a barbershop in Marion, Indiana. He is also running for Best Barbershop of Grant County. As you can see, I was there today, maybe, if you didn't tell, if you can't notice. And he totally deserves it. He won last year. He should win this year. Super great guy, and it really is more than just a haircut. It's an experience. I even get my full beard trimmed and everything. Like it's nice. Like that you said that one time where you got like steam and all that stuff. Like that's what this is every time. For like $30. Like that's pretty manageable. Good guy. Support him. Steve Wood illustration. If you're looking for something, I have a couple. Kyle, I'm not showing you yours, but I'll show you some of the other ones. If you want to know what his work looks like, here is some examples of it. I'm going to try to put it up there. Do you like this one, Kyle? Stranger Things. I've got episode 5 with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've got a little Lord of the Rings action here. And the big one, because I didn't know what the size was when I ordered it and kind of messed up. Check this one out. This one's my favorite so far. Oh, it's getting a glare. That's awesome. Yeah. So now you understand what I mean when I say you can pretty much order anything for everybody. He does take custom orders. If you are interested in something for Christmas, reach out to him from any of his social media sites that he has up and get it in soon. He has a lot of commissions that are coming up. I still have one piece of custom art that's going to be finished. Yeah, he's a good guy. We're also, sorry, my brain is kind of dying. Supporting our friend Ronald Morrell. He's running for the mayor of Marion. I would never usually run anything political, but he is really great about being involved in the community, helping people out. And I've seen it firsthand. That's why I support him, and you should too. Liberty Prep is a local college prep school football team. And we are supporting them as they are playing at Marion High School. Go out, support them. These kids are really trying to make the push to the next level. So a lot of them want to play D1, and sometimes you just got to take an extra year and play some. They're run by Paul Funches. He's a nice guy. Culture Corner podcast used to be Afro-Latinos. They're switching things up. You've heard Aubin talk about it. I'm not going to talk about that too much longer. Rules of the Frame is another friend podcast. Connor Reed will be joining us. Kyle, Connor, and I are actually going to get together. Kyle doesn't know this yet. And make a list of movies, and we're going to go through those this summer because we don't really have a whole lot of time to hit movies. We've decided movies will be more of what we do on the podcast over the summer when there's not a lot of sports news, but you still want to hear from us. Connor is currently teaching a film class at Indiana Wesleyan University. He is a professor of film, so he might throw in some interesting ones, and then Kyle and I are going to put up some of our favorite films. And then if you have not ever seen Billy Martell on this show, you should. I can link you to the episodes he's been here because he's very funny. But he runs his own podcast with Brad Hefner, and they kind of cover weird movies, off-the-wall movies, B and C list movies, why they were made, why they're passionate about them. Really fun podcast. You'll probably laugh. A little languagey if you're not a language person. Just a heads up, they're pretty languagey. And that is our ads. Kyle, you are all good for taking out the trash.
All right. Well, taking out Pittsburgh this week. It's just hilarious to me that Pittsburgh the college has been irrelevant for the last 20 years or so. Last year they had a really good year, and all of a sudden that apparently makes them the best team in Pennsylvania, the best team. You had one good year, and that's about it. With 28-year-old Kenny Pickett, it's not that hard to be that good, first of all, in that conference, and with a quarterback who's been in college football forever. But you lost to Georgia Tech on Saturday, and Georgia Tech's one of the worst teams in the nation. I believe they just fired their head coach pretty recently. So, yeah, you lost to Georgia Tech, very, very bad, when all off season, all of last year and this year, you're like, oh, yeah, Pittsburgh, well, Pittsburgh's the team of Pennsylvania. They're better than Penn State, all this, nah, dude, you're still suck at football. I understand that you can produce a good pro every now and then. Don't get me wrong. You do that. Well done. But in terms of competing with the big boys, you're not there. And you're not going to be there ever. And if you do, it's 1 year out of 20. So you're trash. I'm sorry.
And they are, because notice that Kenny Pickett left. He didn't have to leave, but he did. Jordan Addison left. He didn't have to leave, but he did too.
Yeah,
if you're so good, wouldn't your good players stay?
Yeah, Addison would have
But
stayed with Pittsburgh, but he went bye-bye to USC. So, yeah, if he knew that you guys were going to be a competitor this year, he probably would have stayed. But he's like, nah, you're probably not going to be. So he left. So, yeah, you're still crappy at football. Sorry.
cool with it. Flashbang. I'm ready for this. I'm going to ask you, and then you're going to ask me. I take it.
All right, yeah, that's good.
What 3-1 NFL team is overrated? One sentence response. Go.
The Vikings, because Kirk Cousins is a trash bag.
Okay. Mine is the Giants because Saquon is the only player on the Giants. Which 1-3 or 2-2 team is underrated? You're gonna say Ravens.
I was going to say Ravens, yeah.
I know.
No, you can take the Ravens.
No, I'm not going to. I have another one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine's the Ravens. You still have Lamar Jackson, and you will be in every single game that you play, but you need to fix the defense ASAP.
Yeah, that's uncommon for Baltimore this year. Injuries are part of it, but the rest of it is just bad play call. And bad execution, I should say, more than bad play call. Anyways, 1-3 team, Detroit Lions, because they actually have an offense.
Yeah, they're better than what
derailing
I
them.
think the record is. I'm very impressed with them. I know they're 1-3, but
It's like a Nebraska 1-3, if that makes sense. Like they haven't lost by like 40. They're losing by like 3 or 6.
yeah, it's close games. Like I would hold on to the guys that you got, to the coaches that you got, and after they go 1-16, then maybe it's time to look at other things. But they've competed
Hutchinson
well.
Looks good. Amon-Ra looks good. Goff looks good. Swift, they look good. Their offense.
Yeah, it's good. Defense is struggling, but
Questionable.
yeah, Hutchinson apparently isn't doing the greatest right now. So I hope he turns it around because incredible college defensive end.
He did in one game, didn't he?
Yeah, he has 3 sacks. He has 3 sacks on the year, and everyone's saying it's like, it's not real sacks, or it's like, he got lucky. But I don't think you luck into 3 sacks. Like I think he's going to be a good player. I don't think he's going to be the ceiling of a Trayvon Walker if Trayvon Walker reaches that ceiling. But I think he has a high floor. I think he's going to be probably like Chris Long, if you remember him from Virginia. Got drafted to the Rams, I believe. He was never like this amazing Pro Bowl or defensive end, but he lasted in the league for like 10 to 12 years and was productive. So I think it's going to be very similar to him. So
I like it. I guess I don't know if the second one was written for me, but the first one for sure was written for you. I know you love talking about coaches. I know you love talking about potential coach moves. We haven't done a coaching carousel in a while, and I know we will eventually, and I'm excited. Okay, Auburn. Brian Harsin is literally one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in the SEC. Just straight up. Not because it's Auburn. They're just bad. Like, how do you have that many 4- and 5-star kids and you just crap the bed with them every week?
Yeah.
Ouch. And you came from Boise. Like, I thought you would have the, like, little man attitude of, like, okay, we may not be the best team in the SEC, but we're going to fight everybody week by week. He can't do that. There's turmoil in the locker room. There's turmoil in the coaching staff. There's turmoil on the field. He is losing grip on everything. So let's just go ahead and say Harsin's fired, right? Would you take Deion Sanders? Is that enough to move the needle for Auburn to be competitive again?
Yeah. It depends. If Deion can recruit that's not true. I think Deion can recruit no matter where he goes.
I was going to say.
If he can get good coaches around him, I think he could be successful. Because that's the name of the game. Like, you can recruit all you want, but if you don't have good coaches to lift you up, good position coaches to help you, it's not going to work. I mean, Nick Saban, we know what he can do with Alabama. We know what Kirby Smart can do recruiting-wise. We know what Ryan Day can do recruiting wise, but like they get some of the best coaches on their staff every single year. Why? Because they know that's what it takes to like lift these players up even more. So if Deion Sanders can't recruit the coaches that he needs, he's not going to be successful. So I don't know how it's going to play out because I don't know what he obviously has a lot of connections. He's Deion Sanders, but does he have a lot of like coaching connections? That's going to be the thing because in the SEC, you're going to win a couple of games with pure talent, but you're not going to be successful with just 4 or 5 star guys because everybody in the SEC has good recruits, good players. Like you're not going to get by with just that. So you need a culture shift. You need a program changer. He could be that guy, but you also have to be able to get really good coaches to Auburn too, and that's the big thing. I don't know who his connections are, but it's possible. I think Auburn would benefit for it for sure. So
yeah, I'd like to see it. Honestly, I hope it does happen because I like a competitive Iron Bowl, and I'm sure you feel the same way with Ohio State and Penn State. So. Or even Penn State and Pitt, however you'd like that to be, because you have like 7 rivals like we do. So, anyways, Paul Chryst is fired. Is Wisconsin stupid?
Yeah, it's a rhetorical question. I think they are incredibly stupid. They had a bad year a couple years ago, not so great this year, but like every other year it's been 8, 9, 10, 11 wins.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is in college football? I don't care what conference you're in, what division you're in. That's incredibly hard to do. But now you look at it, you're in the Big Ten. I get it, you're not in the Big Ten division with the big boys. However, you're also in Wisconsin, where it's incredibly hard to recruit, incredibly hard to find good talent in Wisconsin, other than your big corn eating, cheese eating offensive lineman. But like, it's really hard to do that, to build a program like that. And what he's done for that team, for that program is incredible. Like, not anyone can just step into a building and become a program changer. Not anybody can do that. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, Jim Leonard, really good D coordinator for Wisconsin. He should be the head coach now. Like, you don't know that that's going to work. You have to have a certain mantra, a certain like attitude about you, a certain personality to like lead a program, and a big one at that. I mean, you just talked about Brian Harsin. He doesn't have the guts to do that. He doesn't have what it takes. And a lot of people go after a couple. I mean, even Scott Frost with Nebraska. Like, Nebraska doesn't have that high of expectations. Look what they did with Bo. I mean, it shouldn't have high expectations of what they did. Bo Pelini had 8, 9 wins like every year with Nebraska. And they got rid of him because he wouldn't reach that 10, 11 mark consistently. But that's really hard to do. That's almost impossible to do if you're not like recruiting at top 10 level, which you're never going to with Nebraska or Wisconsin.
Or it becomes a once in 10 or once in 20 years kind of thing.
Right. Or like Wisconsin, it was like 1 in 6 years, which is pretty good, all things considering. Like, even with 9 wins, you could probably get to the Big Ten championship in that division.
Right. Even with like Jack Cohn and all these really terrible subpar quarterbacks I can't think of. Like, they never have had, besides Russell Wilson, they never have had like a whoa quarterback. That's never, ever been the case.
And we've seen all you need to do is like get lucky one year or a couple of years with like a really good quarterback recruit or a really good transfer quarterback recruit, and your team can get elevated. Like, in this day and age, in this college football year, next 10 years, whatever it is, like with the transfer portal, it's so much more available to get like a stud quarterback in there. If you have a team like Wisconsin who's very good at recruiting offensive linemen, very good at producing NFL running backs, now the receivers are a little iffy, but like if you get lucky and get a receiver transfer in and a quarterback transfer in, with a good defense that they do have consistently, I mean, you could go to the Big Ten championship in that division pretty easily. Like, and he's shown that he's been able to get there. So swapping out Paul Chryst for I don't know who, like, I don't think Wisconsin is that attractive of a job. I did see a funny tweet though from a Wisconsin guy. He said, "Do you think Wisconsin would be able to get Nick Saban?"
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban, like, what? Oh, you're dumb.
Let's
like, no.
leave a very successful team to go to the Big Ten like little guys.
Like, no. If you had a good man, a good coach, a good program builder, and you got rid of them for the grass is always greener. But listen, it didn't work for Nebraska. I don't think it's going to work for Wisconsin either. Because you can very easily go back. You can very easily become Indiana, Rutgers quickly in the Big Ten if you don't have just a steady program guy. You can.
It's true. So how would you like to do the next part of NCAA segment? Do you want to go from 10 to 1?
Yeah, we'll go from 10 to 1. I'll go 10, you go 10, and then
that works.
9. Okay.
So what we're doing is the top 10 college quarterbacks of the 21st century. That's a lot of quarterbacks if you go back and think about it. Kyle and I tried to pick best stat guys, best X factors, best everything, and throw all that into one list. That being said, let's start with number 10.
Yeah, number 10 for me is Matt Leinart, and I had some trouble putting him in there because he was such a horrible NFL quarterback. But in college, he was the guy.
Monster.
During his time, the old NCAA football games, you would choose USC not only for Reggie Bush but also for Matt Leinart because he was just the guy. Just you thought he was going to become an amazing NFL QB. Lefty, that's unique. Almost 100 touchdowns his career, 99 touchdowns, 23 picks. Won a championship. It's incredibly impressive what he did his time at USC. One of the most iconic USC quarterbacks, I think, even better than Sam Darnold. I think he was better than Carson Palmer probably at USC. But yeah, so he's my number 10.
But did he butt fumble? No, I'm kidding. Sorry. My number 10 is also Matt Leinart for the same reason. He was the guy back in the day for the USC dynasty that was 7 years. They were on there for a while. They were good for a long time. He's kind of the guy I think of. I don't really think of Mark Sanchez or Carson Palmer or any of those guys. I just think of Matt Leinart because of how good he was. You just imagine that 7. That's just who USC is. So I couldn't really make a list and not have him on it, if that made sense. So, but there's obviously better guys than him. So
yeah. My number 9 is Colt McCoy. Longevity alone, 4 years he started for the Longhorns. Just a really special player. Over 130 touchdowns in his career. Who knows what would have happened against Alabama if he didn't get hurt. No, but honestly, the connection from him to Shipley, I believe it was just very,
Jordan
very
Shipley,
unique.
Yeah.
Shipley. And just when I think of Texas, other than Vince Young, to me, it's Colt McCoy. Vince Young had, and I think he's on our list too. But Colt McCoy, after Vince Young was gone from Texas, he was the guy for those 4 years. Kind of a do-it-all kind of guy. He wasn't the most incredible rusher in the world, but he made plays with his feet when he had to. And he really solidified Texas as a really good program. And after he left, they went downhill. So, yeah.
That's the Bama effect. Anyways, my number 9 is Colt Brennan. Sorry, I had to go with a different Colt. This man was the Joe Burrow before Joe Burrow. In a time where high passing offenses weren't a thing, Hawaii went off and went 13-0 and then lost to Georgia. I think it was the Sugar Bowl. But still, the man went for 60 passing touchdowns, thousands and thousands of passing touchdowns in his career. It was really good. He just never made it in the next level. But for Hawaii, out of all places, to have one of the best quarterbacks ever, he has to be on the list. He was an X factor. And I wish they would have beaten Georgia in the Sugar Bowl just because this man would be higher on this list. And people would say, oh, do you remember that game with Hawaii? People would remember it. But I think because of the loss, people forget how good and dominant he was. I did have Case Keenum here, and I switched Case Keenum out with Colt Brennan.
Keenum was pretty good too.
Yeah, he was.
My number 8 is Sam Bradford. He had 50 touchdowns to 8 picks in the 2008 sophomore campaign. In 2007, he had 36 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in his freshman campaign. In terms of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football history, I think it's him. He just knew how to.
That's sinful. How dare you talk about Sam Bradford like that?
He was. He just knew how to slice and dice you. Even in the NFL, like he had a rough go with the Rams, no doubt, and he was expected to be one of the best quarterbacks. He got a lucrative contract when those contracts were being handed out before the whole shifting of rookie contracts, like $80 million for I don't know how many years, but you could see even in the NFL, he was just incredibly accurate. Now injuries, yes. Mobility, yes. He was skinny, he didn't run around very well, but in terms of arm talent, accuracy, just being able to read the defense, know where to go with the ball, and just being able to slice and dice you up. I mean, he won the Heisman 2008, first overall draft pick by the St. Louis Rams. Just absolutely incredible. His passing efficiency, he had so many good things that he did for the Oklahoma program beyond just the accuracy. He kind of put Oklahoma on the map too. I don't know if he played with. I think he played with Adrian Peterson, maybe. No, I think he played with DeMarco Murray. I know that. So that was pretty good.
He caught the tail end of Adrian Peterson.
Yeah. So, just incredibly accurate quarterback. Different, very different from the other guys on my list. Going forward. So. Yeah.
Now, you'll have to help me with a name because it's blanking, but I do remember this weird, obscure trivia. They drafted Sam Bradford because he reminded them of Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they drafted Sam Bradford, because he had that dot kind of arm mentality. He just wasn't as big as Kurt was, and I think because they weren't as spectacular, that may have hurt him a lot more, especially with their O-line wasn't that strong.
Yeah.
But had he had a good O-line, I wonder if he would have been more of Kurt Warner 2.0 for the Rams.
Yeah, again, you don't have to be the most mobile guy in the NFL to live in the pocket. His mobility is probably, it would have been very similar to Aaron Rodgers. Definitely at least Tom Brady. He could have survived if he, had a good offensive line, if he didn't get hit so early in his career and have the injuries. Who knows, what would have happened to him. So
it's a good one. I'm glad you put him on there. I'm going to be disrespectful for my 8, and I'm going to put Johnny Manziel there. I just can't get away from how much of a cocky you-know-what he was. I cannot get away from that. However, his play on the field, I feel like it was more marred by luck and being bailed out by a man called Mike Evans. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you at all. But a lot of his plays were lucky. He, as an athlete, was fantastic. But a lot of his plays, if you go back, I did this recently because I went back to watch A&M versus Alabama, the 2 games that he played home and away. A lot of it was luck. A lot of it was, my wide receiver's just wide open. Let me just chuck it to him and dance around and get it to him. That's a lot of what he did. But I do unfortunately have to admit his charisma on the field, he was not afraid of anybody. And it showed because he made some ridiculous plays. But I feel like that's also equally balanced out by being lucky. So that's why I just can't put him up that high with other guys that I'm oh, yeah, this guy rocked. But he was good. I'll give him that. He was very good.
My number 7 is Marcus Mariota. Over 105 passing touchdowns in his career and over 29 rushing touchdowns in his career. This guy was a machine.
Monster.
32-6, 31-4, 42-4. Overall 67 completion percentage, over 2,200 yards rushing. I mean, absolutely just incredible. What he did for Oregon, obviously with Chip Kelly as well. That I think that too is just like, to me, the Chip Kelly plus Marcus Mariota factor. It was a new offense, right? It was an inventive offense.
Yeah.
It was fast paced, no huddle. Like it's very iconic in a way. And I think Oregon mostly got its notoriety from Chip Kelly, but also Marcus Mariota. Like he was a number 1 or number 2 draft pick in the NFL that year for a reason. Very similar things to Sam Bradford in terms of accuracy, but then he also had that X factor, like we talked about, of just being able to run by everybody. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks that came out that year, and if you look at it, he's probably one of the fastest NFL quarterbacks that's ever gotten drafted.
And he can complete passes to himself. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that too. That's pretty impressive. Just iconic Oregon quarterback. And they really haven't gotten anybody like that since. I think that kind of probably tells you something, you know.
Yeah.
No one's been able to operate that Chip Kelly offense like him. So.
You're gonna hate my 7, and I feel it. My 7 is Kellen Moore. I loved me some Kellen Moore back in the day. An itty bitty nobody school that had already kind of gone up against Oklahoma and beat them, and then you never heard about them again, suddenly is on fire with this weird lefty quarterback that just is a gunslinger. Very smart quarterback. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful understanding of the game. I think that's why he impresses me, because he's just so smart. I know you hate him because he was with the Cowboys. This is before the Cowboys. It's okay. But he was the winningest quarterback for a long time in the NCAA. It was broken by Trevor Lawrence, and then Desmond Ridder broke Trevor Lawrence's record, right? But he was the winningest quarterback for a long time until Trevor Lawrence broke it. I think that says something. Like, even if you play at a crappy school, if you can play well, that says a lot. For me, 7 has to be Kellen Moore. And I loved those uniforms back in 2011. Those were peak football uniforms. Do you remember those? With the like ghost looking Bronco on the side?
Oh yeah. I remember I think it was it Jared Zabransky? Was he on the football cover? Yeah.
Yep.
That's the first memory I have of Boise State and all that. But yeah, Kellen Moore really took that program over the top when he was there.
And then they've never been like that since.
Yeah, he was really good. Now my next guy is Johnny Manziel, and looking over at his stats, they weren't as incredible as some of the other guys on this list. However, his Heisman year, the dude, like he had it, like not the mental personality side of it, pretty crappy guy, but he was Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes was him. Like Manziel was Patrick Mahomes. The ability to sort of run around everything, make these off-platform throws, and making these throws and running around things that he used to do, like, look so easy at times. Like, you think you had him stopped, they can just escape a little bit, do a dump off, like just find someone open, keep the play alive, do all these incredible things that you've never seen someone do. Like he had so many Heisman moments in his Heisman year that like it was impossible to pick anybody else when he won. He was very exciting to watch, very fun to watch, but for me, you kind of knew like he's a really good college quarterback. I don't know what he's going to do in the NFL. And, it proved out to be true because didn't really have the work ethic to do that. But in college, he just made everything look really easy, really fun. A heck of a quarterback. So
yeah. What are we on, 6?
Yes.
Because you just said Manziel. Okay. Mine's Marcus Mariota. The only other thing that I'll add was, so USC in the early NCAA days was the team to play as. NCAA 14, you played as Oregon. That was the team you picked up because you have Mariota. He didn't play with LaMichael James, did he?
Yeah, he might have.
No, LaMichael would have been before that. LaMichael James would have been before that because he played in the 2012 Super Bowl with the Niners and the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
He was a rookie that year, so he was before Mariota. Sorry, my brain had to think about that for a minute. I think the rest of our list is pretty similar. Do you want to just back and forth it?
Yeah. Robert Griffin's my number 5.
My 5 is Vince Young.
My number 4 is Vince Young.
My number 4 is RG3.
My number 3 is Lamar.
My 3 is Lamar too. What an electric quarterback.
Yeah. My number 2 is Timmy Tebow.
My 2 is Cam Newton. Speaking of electric quarterbacks.
My number 1 is Cam Newton.
My 1 is Tim Tebow.
Yeah, just overall the last 5 there. RG3 just
next level. Like some of the plays he just made happen were just insane.
72 completion percentage his 2011 year. Like he looked like the next guy in the NFL. Like he could be a franchise changer. It's unfortunate what happened to him.
He would have had he not played for Washington.
Yeah, that too. He wasn't like as fast as Lamar or Michael Vick, but just a really good runner as well. What an incredible career he had at Baylor, and and the other guys, they're pretty self-explanatory. Lamar is just Lamar, like Heisman highlight after Heisman highlight. Cam Newton is your number 2. He was my number 1. He was a creative player guy that you would do in college football. Really just took that Auburn team by storm, and incredible. Nothing's ever been like him in college football at the quarterback position. Nothing, and I don't know if anything ever will be. Then Tim Tebow, he's like the most college quarterback you can be. Iconic. So
yeah. Let's do one more and then we'll wrap up here real quick. I promise this will be quick. We're gonna do jock, paper, scissors. These are specifically tailored to irritate Kyle. So are you taking the Bills, Chiefs, or Eagles? Jock, paper, scissors.
I'm gonna take the Bills.
This one is Bills. Yeah.
I'm thinking the Bills just because I think they should have won last year. Maybe they didn't, but I think they should have won last year. It's unfortunate what happened to Micah Hyde, their safety. He's hurt, but once they get guys back healthy,
there's probably not a better team in the NFL, honestly.
I don't think. More well-rounded team. I don't think. So, yeah, I want to go Bills. Obviously, Chiefs are really good. Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid. Eagles off to a really, really hot start. But the other 2 teams on this list, the Bills and Chiefs, with their current team, has been there a little bit longer. This is a very new Eagles team, so I'm not going to put them at number 1 right yet. So,
but they look good.
They do.
They look really good. Now here's one. You are a NFL GM. You are looking to draft your next franchise quarterback or sign. Who cares? You have to choose start, bench, and cut. Lamar, Jalen, Kyler. Jock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, cut and Kyler. Instant. I don't like him. I don't. I don't. I don't at all. He makes some really good plays, but I don't think he's dedicated to the game.
No.
These other 2, I think, very much are. I'd probably still go Lamar at number 1, but it's getting closer for me just because, I think Jalen Hurts is catching up as a passer to Lamar.
Yes.
He's not quite there. I think he's catching up. Obviously, it has to do a lot with what's around him because Hurts' weapons are much better than what Lamar has. But Lamar, also a very good runner. Jalen Hurts, very excellent runner, but very different runners. Lamar is juke you out of your shoes, run past you. Jalen Hurts is I will run through you. He is a bruiser as a runner. So very different types of quarterbacks, I think. I don't think you can go wrong with either, but I'll give a slight edge to Lamar.
I tried my hardest to make those difficult for you. I'll make that better next week. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I know we ran a little longer than usual. Again, subscribe, like, share, and hang out with us every Monday. And we'll see you next week.
Later.